moving on to the next question. What should homeowners consider when deciding between renovating an existing space or just adding new square footage to their home?
So adding square footage to your home is going to be a more open-ended question. So that can relate to, are you going to go up or are you going to go out? Are you going to add an additional story? Say you have a single story rambler home. Are you going to add a second story, or are you going to add to a 1 or 2 story home that is currently 2 stories that you can add out to add more space to that same home? There's so many variables in this, so I'll try to go through a handful of them right off. First and foremost, a lot of people are going to live in home neighborhoods that have an HOA, and also just the requirements, whether it be with the HOA, or be with the city or county that they live in. And that comes to the point of, can you add more what we call footprint of the home to the land, the actual property? There's always a percentage of what is allowable. So the city or the county would have those answers. Say, hey, you can only do 40% of your property is able to be impermeable, and you're at 35%. And to add the additional square footage out would go past that 40% mark. Then that's not a possible way of doing it. But on the other end of it too, is going to be, if you're going to go out, we're talking foundations, we're talking the framing, we're talking about the groundwork that would be involved in that. So a lot of, again, going back to neighborhoods, can you get a machine like an excavator or something back behind there to dig all that dirt out? Because most home communities have their homes 5-10 feet apart.
Right.
So you have a fence line that is 5 feet apart, and again, a lot of people seeing these machines that they can get very large, but can you fit a machine that needs to fit between a house and their fence line that is under 5 feet? Most of the time, yes, but sometimes not. So that adds into the labor part of it too. Going back to building up, this becomes, and actually across on either end of it, there's structural engineer requirements that would be needed to be done, architectural work potentially as well. But going up, you want to verify that your foundation is strong enough to handle that additional load, because you have to think about that. You're putting easily thousands of pounds more of material, people, furniture, you name it, as the house is being used. Can that foundation structure be able to hold all this additional weight? And if it can, then adding up it can easily be done. You add that square footage. We would work out design aspects of how to add, if need be, stairs or access to the place. Because if you just have bedrooms, like 2 bedrooms side by side, and you try to add behind those, how to add, like, say, a hallway to access that next room or rooms, whatever it may be. So it's an either or question on this. It really is dependent on those topics of, can you do it?
Yeah, if you can do it, but then you coming in, looking at an existing space, okay, we want to create an extra bedroom. How can you take maybe some space from another bedroom or a playroom or add a wall? Like looking at all of that logistically and seeing where they could make some changes in the existing space. If that's not feasible, if it's not doable, then okay, we might need to add on. There's options, like just creating options.
There can definitely be options. Really, it comes into my first question to a client that would bring that to me is, what is the purpose of this new space?
Right.
Say you have a 3-bedroom home and it's just you and your partner, or just you. And you're like, hey, I don't need 3 bedrooms. I would like to make a master suite. I have a 1960s, 1970s 3-bedroom rambler, and I don't need all that space for it. And again, back in those days, their master bathrooms were lack of a better word, small. It
Very
didn't make
small.
sense. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there was
With carpet.
a lot of people were somehow shorter and
I don't
just,
know.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
So going into, if there's maybe not even a bathroom for the master already, is we usually can say, hey, let's knock down the wall between two of the bedrooms. Let's add a master suite. Let's add the bathroom. Let's add a walk-in closet. Gaining that larger space, giving them that environment for them to, at the end of the day, that's their place of
Serenity.
Peace.
Yeah.
So it's those kind of steps. With those suggestions, though, we also I would like to mention this on this too, is that separate from drawings and separate from having to go through permit for these kinds of things, because we're adding bathrooms, we're adding a different layout that is on record. The other part of it too would come down to, when I suggest this to clients, is that you break down the fact that your house is labeled on record as a 3-bedroom. Now it becomes a 2-bedroom. But again, it goes back to the real main question of how long you're going to be planning on living in the home. If you're going to be there for quite some time, this would make sense. So there's just lots of questions that we like to ask the clients and make sure that it works for them and make sure that they're informed as much as they possibly can to make the right choices.
I mean, they're looking at their short term and long term, and you're going to bring all those questions to light.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
where it makes the most sense. Okay.